So I saw something online yesterday and today that Dr. Phil did on his YouTube channel. He always uploads like small clips from whatever episode they're focusing on. And this one was about a mom who had a very severe drug addiction and her adult children were there. And it got me to thinking about some of the real hardships of recovery and getting into recovery and how it affects our families. So I just thought we could kind of talk about that today a little bit, and I'd share my own personal experience with that with you guys. So, first off, I have to say that for me, watching shows where they like intervention and they discuss, they show real life behaviors of those still struggling with addiction are very hard for me to watch. I think a lot of addicts feel that way. There's this desire in me to, one, it brings me back to a place that I don't ever want to be. And two, there's this desire in me to want to like grab the person and hold them and be like, there's a better way. You don't have to live like this anymore. You can get better. I know for myself, like, you just don't think that you can get better. You, even if you know there's programs out there and there's help available, there's something internal that makes us feel like that's not going to be possible, that it's not going to work for us. And so seeing somebody like that struggle. Now, I'm not going to use clips from the Dr. Phil show because I'm pretty sure on TV shows they're like super strict with copyright stuff. But I am going to post a couple links down in the description of the specific segments that I'm referring to so you can kind of get an idea. But I think that one of the hardest parts to watch was there was a segment where I guess the adult daughters had kind of thought their mom was maybe doing a little bit better, and they showed a clip of her shooting up, and it just devastated the family. And I know that feeling of being way worse off than we let on. I know a lot of people, when I went into rehab, were quite surprised. My family really didn't know I was struggling with addiction as much as I was. I kept so much of it hidden. And so whatever you see on the outside, it's almost always worse than what we can imagine. And the mother, the one who was addicted to all sorts of stuff, she was crying so hard about how she wanted to get help, and she didn't want to hurt her kids. She kept calling them my babies, which I could totally relate to because that's how I refer to my children. And I could see the struggle and see the emotion, and it was real, it was raw, and she was so honest. And of course, if you're not an addict, you're going to look at her and be like, well, then get yourself together. If you feel so bad that you're hurting your kids, then make better choices. Stop using drugs, right? Like that would be a normal person's reaction. But for someone like me who's been in those kind of struggles, I empathize with her. I can empathize with the feelings of not wanting to hurt people, but feeling stuck. It's hard to watch shows like this, and it's one of the reasons that I thought it was really important that I have a YouTube channel. The very first video I did on my channel was telling people why I believe I need to be vocal and public about the fact that I'm a recovering addict. And it's for this reason. I also try really hard not to get involved in too much of the internet drama because I want the focus of my channel to be helping those that are still struggling in active addiction and those living a life of recovery. And I've been listening to music lately. Like, I'm sorry I'm all over the place. I think what's been getting to me lately is my heart's been broken for all those people who are dying every day from addiction without ever having the opportunity to get help. Or people who relapse and they use one time, and it kills them. Like, no addict thinks it's going to be them. We know the drugs we're doing are deadly. We know they're dangerous. It's not like we need to be educated on that. We know. But there's something about when you're in active addiction that you really don't believe that there's any chance that that's going to kill you. I've used all those things before. I'm fine. You really believe that? I heard someone share the other day that a partner of theirs had an overdose, and after overdosing, they used the words, they tried to tell their partner, like, no, 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 I'm fine. Like, I'm going to be fine. Why is it that as addicts, we don't see the harm and the danger that we're really putting ourselves in when we use? There's got to be a reason, and I'm sure scientifically that can be explained. Maybe I'll look into that for a reaction time video. But drugs are killing people every day. And I think that by being vocal about my own experience, we can really help those who are struggling and those who maybe be starting early. Like, I have my own kids, and I try to talk to them regularly about the dangers. They're involved in my recovery. They sometimes come with me to my 12-step program. I want them to hear the stories, because as hard as it is, it's real. Addiction kills. And the only way that we can combat the deaths is by sharing openly the hope. We have to make recovery attractive. We have to make recovery be such an awesome thing that it looks hopeful and it looks attractive. I mean, there's no other way to put it. If I was using drugs and I met a bunch of people and they were miserable and they complained all the time, they got involved in drama, whatever, and all they were telling me was like, hey, you should get into recovery, it's great. But I'm looking at them and I'm saying, what's so great about it? I'm never going to think that that's a better option, right? But if you're a using addict and you see people who are loving each other, who are caring for each other, who are lifting each other up and supporting each other through life's hardships, because life can be hard and you're not going to be happy all the time in recovery. But when you see people who have support, who have love, who are able to get through hard stuff without using, that's attractive. That's something that if I were a using addict, I would want, I would strive for, and I would be more hopeful in a program. It's very hard to stay on the topic of recovery. I am going to tell you more stories about my active addiction, but the reality of it is active addiction stories are so much more interesting to listen to. We like the drama and tragedy when we listen to stories. But we forget that those are real life people with real life problems. I'm sure if you're a using addict right now, you can tell me some crazy stories that people would love to hear. But is that for me, it's about making recovery that exciting. How do we do that? How do we make it where someone turns on one of my videos and listens about a story about recovery and then wants to be in recovery? That's my goal. I want to reach the unreachables. I want to help the junkie on the street. I've seen too many people die from the disease of addiction, and it's just getting worse. But like, what's amazing is there is hope. And what I love is, like, if I comment on somebody's, like, I go on live streams on other people's channels and I'll comment and say that I have a recovery-based channel. And people come to my channel and they message me and they're like, I'm so glad I'm in recovery too. There's so many people in recovery. There's really this incredible community of people in recovery, but we just don't talk about it as much. And I think that part of breaking the stigma of addiction is talking about our recovery in a more public way. Something about your recovery where we have a conversation, because I want people out there to see what I see. I scroll through my comments, I read my messages, I check my emails, and I see so many people reaching out in recovery saying, like, I'm so glad I found a place where somebody's talking about recovery all the time. And there are other recovery channels. But recovery doesn't have like the wow power that some other topics do on YouTube. And so it's not promoted as much. So as somebody in recovery, we have to actually go out and let people know we exist. I just am tired of seeing people die. And we all play a role in that. You know, it's really hard not to judge somebody. You walk past somebody who's on the street asking you for money and they look like they're strung out. We all look down on that person, right? Like instinctually it happens. When really we should be looking at them as they are sick. They need help. And like, no, giving them money may not be the best plan. I happen to give people money if I walk past them and have it, or I buy food. I try to make recovery attractive in any way I can. I've stopped, the meetings I go to are in a city, and so I very often see people who are struggling or homeless, and I stop. I talk to them. Even if I have no money, I'll spend just a couple of minutes letting them know that I see them. Sometimes I even invite them to come with me to the meeting that I'm going to. Let them know there's hot coffee if they're thirsty. Make it attractive. Give them the idea that I'm not going to judge them based on where they're at. Because that's one of the hardest things is when we're in active addiction, we isolate ourselves because we're terrified of being judged. We don't want people to look down on us, that we don't want people to know the things that we've done. But I can guarantee you that if you walked into a room with other recovering addicts and you told them the worst thing you could possibly think of that you've done in your active addiction, thinking you're all alone and you're embarrassed, and you tell a room full of recovering addicts that one thing, you're going to have at least one person say, hey, me too. Addiction makes us do terrible things. It turns us into people that we're not. Recovery lets us be back to the people we want to be. And using a program, whatever program you choose to use, and developing a network of people who are also in recovery helps us grow as people. My next video, I'm actually going to talk about how recovery and the things we learn in recovery can be useful for people who don't have an addiction problem. The stuff that we learn in recovery about how to better ourselves can really be useful to anybody. So that'll be covered on Tuesday. I hope that you liked this video. I know it wasn't really like super on point like some of my other ones, but watching that Dr. Phil clip like really brought me back to a place where, you know, it hurt. And watching the way that her family had been enabling her, which is always a bad move. And then seeing her want that help, but still fighting it. There was a clip where she said, you know, they're like, all right, we're going to go to rehab right now. And she's like, but I have stuff everywhere. I have to do this. I'll come in 2 days. And they flat out told her, anybody who doesn't go to rehab the moment it's offered and they say, I need a few days, they never go. So if you feel like you're at a place where you want to get help and you're ready to get help, then go somewhere. Call somebody. Make that choice right now. Walk into an emergency room and say, I'm a drug addict and I don't know what to do. I need help. A lot of emergency rooms actually have programs where they have people to call when they have someone in addiction who shows up. When you're ready for help, the amount of people that will carry you until you can walk on your own is unreal. You just have to know where to look. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I don't know if you ever have an experience where like you watch something on TV or YouTube and you're like, that touched me in a way. I've been really emotional about my recovery the past week or so. I've been really thinking about a lot of my friends that have passed away and, you know, missing the fact that they lost their lives at such an early, they didn't have to. And all 3 people who I lost died on a relapse. They knew recovery. They just couldn't get it. They couldn't stay. So I hope this video was informative in some way, letting you know you're not alone. And look, we all struggle, but we can get through this thing together. We can get through anything together. I really, really appreciate you guys commenting and liking my video. If you enjoy what I do, please subscribe. And feel free, I've gotten asked this a lot, feel free to share my videos. If there's something I say that you think will help a friend, or you can share my videos. Everything on my page is public, so it's not, I know we try to keep like our addiction stuff like very quiet, but if you feel like anything I say should be shared, you can absolutely go ahead and like share the link somewhere. That's fine. I know a few people have asked. I do have a Patreon. Woo-woo. I'm so excited. And I have a patron, just one, but I can't even begin to tell you how exciting that is for me. The links are in the description. Also, if you ever, when I do a live stream, I have an ability to make donations where something pops up on the screen. So that's what that other link is. You don't need to worry about that for these. But yeah, if you want to join my Patreon, I do a couple more like personal videos in the month where I just like, you know, vlog style my life in some ways. Usually the stuff I say is non-YouTube appropriate, so it's not anything I'm not doing on this channel just for money. It's stuff that I would love to share here, but I can't. But yeah, so, okay, I think I'm done rambling now. Thank you guys so much for your support. I hope that you know you're not alone. Together, we can get through this. We always have somebody to turn to. I love you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye, everyone.